Hi, Gateway students. Miss Martin here. I want to tell you about an architecture class called Famous Buildings. This class is offered for 7th through 12th grade, and in this class, students learn all about different buildings throughout history. The first week of class, we learn about different famous buildings. We learn about the architects who designed them. We learn about the materials that were used to create them, the engineering and the technology involved to create them. And we also learn about their use and where in the world they are. Students then choose their favorite building, either from one that we've studied this week or one that they've seen online or they've seen in a book or maybe they've even seen in person. And we find all the information that we can possibly get about this building. We use that information to create a scaled model of the building. Some of the models are very small, while other models can be even as tall as the student. But either way, we create this scale model so you can really see what this building would look like. When we learn about the architects, we learn about other buildings that they've created. We also learn about different structures, like bridges. We learn about historical buildings, and we learn about more modern buildings. We learn about buildings of all different uses, including apartments, museums, skyscrapers. Are you excited to get started? If you are, I have a special challenge for you. But first, let me introduce you to one of my favorite architects, Frank Gehry. Now, what I love about Frank Gehry is he wasn't really into straight lines, and he did everything a little bit differently. He did not want to be boring. And a lot of his sketches were just started from a crumpled piece of paper. And you wonder, how does that become a building? But here it is. This is the Disney Concert Hall in LA. And there I am, taking my pilgrimage to see it. When I got back, I was so inspired by his process that I decided to give it a try. I just took pieces of paper and started to create a sculpture. And in the end, I came out with this. And I'd like you guys to give it a try today. So here's what you're going to need. Some paper. Mine's watercolor paper that I've decorated, but you could use anything. Cardboard if you have it, scissors, paper clips, glue, and some blue tape. Now, I use Elmer's glue, and then I hold it in place with blue tape, but you could use any glue you want. So once I have my materials ready to go, the first thing I'm going to do is cut my papers into strips. I'm not going to think about the kind of shapes I'm creating too much. I don't want to overthink anything, basically. Just cut out what looks good to you. So some could be rectilinear, some could be triangular. And then if you have some corrugated cardboard, you can actually rip off the outer layers of paper, and it exposes this inner corrugated, beautiful texture. And this texture is going to offer a nice balance to the rest of our sculpture here. Once I have everything ready to go, I'm going to start curling my papers. And I just like to roll them and curl them, but you can do this any way you want. You can curl them in different directions from each other. If you want a really tight curl, you could curl it around a pencil or a marker something like that. And then you'll get a really nice tight curl that you can actually kind of fold out or unravel a little bit if you want not such a tight curl. When you go to curl your corrugated cardboard, you're going to find that it does not want to curl in any way that you want. It's going to curl how it wants. So you need to just feel it and experiment with it. And then again, don't think too hard about it. Just start gluing things down. So I use Elmer's glue with blue tape because I like how Elmer's glue dries really clear. I use the blue tape because it can hold it in place while it dries, so I don't have to hold it in place. And the blue tape will come off really easily. You could use hot glue, which would be a lot quicker. But if you do that, please be careful, because a hot glue gun burn does not feel very good, trust me. But if you do use your Elmer's, make sure you have some tape to put it in place. Otherwise, you'll be sitting there holding it forever. So I like to put a few pieces in place, and then I might even take a break. Let things dry off, maybe take some of the blue tape off, and then continue on. And I'm going to let the piece of papers kind of tell me what they want to do. I'm going to be using different types of paper, different colors, different textures. And one of the things I do want to be aware of is creating balance in my sculpture. So you'll notice I'm not going to put all the blue paper on one side, or all the green paper on one side, or all the corrugated cardboard in one area. I'm going to distribute them around the entire place so that it has a really nice balance. It'll balance with color, and it'll also balance with texture. So I'll keep going around, adding my strips, cutting things down if I need to, and playing around with it. You may want to kind of experiment. You may not be satisfied with what it looks like right away, but keep playing around with it. And then again, don't think too hard about it. Get something that looks cool and then just glue it down. And what's cool is as you go, as you add more pieces, the pieces start to interact with each other. And that means they actually rely on each other to create the forms that they're creating. And then you can kind of see things you wouldn't have seen if you were just starting. Some may even want to go under other pieces or wrap around. And that creates a really interesting shape. So make sure that you're using your blue tape to get things in place, or you're using your hot glue. You may have to hold a little bit as well. And then don't forget to use all the different types of paper. So far I've only used my watercolor paper, the blue and the green. But now I want to make sure that I get my corrugated cardboard in there to add some more interest to my building. A lot of times architects like to play around with materials because the different textures and colors and feels of the material can have different effects. Some materials feel very warm. Some materials feel very cool. And it's nice to have a nice balance of those. Some materials are rough while some are very smooth. And that also adds a lot of interest, not only because you can feel it, you can feel the difference, but you can see it as well. And they all interact differently with the light as well. So I'm going to get all my pieces in. And the whole time I'm looking at this from all angles. So I want to make sure that I'm picking up my piece here. I'm moving it around. I'm turning it 360 degrees. I'm also lifting it up to see it on the sides. There's no one view for this sculpture. It has many views. And I want to be thinking about all of them. Now, those paper clips, you can use them to make really cool little modern trees. So I just unwrap them, leave one part of it pretty straight for the trunk, and then curl the rest of it, maybe around my finger if I can. And just wrap it around. And again, they don't have to be perfect, but they look pretty cool. Okay, I've glued everything in place. I've let it dry. I've taken the blue tape off. And now Mr. Wyatt here wants to show it off. So we'll let him hang out, okay? So, I didn't think about where I was gonna place these pieces. I didn't think too hard about how I was gonna curl them or bend them. I just did what seemed right. And what I've created, if we look at it as a sculptural piece of artwork, is a sculpture in the round. And a sculpture in the round just means that it's meant to be looked at on all sides, 360 degrees, and that every angle you look at it from is totally different from the last. So there's an endless amount of views that you can see it as. If I imagine this as an actual modern building, I start to see different spaces. I start to see this area here as a little awning, and maybe this is the entrance. And people can go through and buy their tickets to whatever it is and go through to the front. Maybe this is an outdoor space where people can gather. And then after they go inside, there's some different spaces they can be in. Now, when I first looked at this, I thought, hey, maybe this could actually be a modern art museum. The building's very sculptural, so maybe it has a lot of sculptures in it. And then this awning could be where people get shade and where they wait in line to go inside. This outdoor area here could maybe be an outdoor sculptural garden. And an outdoor sculptural garden would be really nice because sometimes sculptures are so big that they can't fit inside buildings. So this could be an area for them. Once people go inside, through the space right in there between the blue and the green, they would enter this kind of entry area right in here. And you can see how it kind of curves around to the back over in here. And maybe this space back here is a place for the employees to have offices. Maybe it's a place where they store art that isn't being used at the time. And maybe the bathrooms are back here. And if you're a guest at the museum, the main event, the main gallery, would be over on this side. And what's cool to think is that we've actually created a really ideal gallery space with these large, tall white walls are perfect for hanging artworks. And this big space in the middle is perfect for displaying sculptures. So this could actually become a modern art building. What do you think, Wyatt? What do you think? Is it a modern art building? I think he says yes. Thank you for watching this video introducing you to the famous buildings architecture class at Gateways. I hope to see you in class. And if you did take me up on that challenge, bring it with you. I'd love to see what you came up with.